Hey, this is Pat, and today we're checking out the all-new 6D ATR-3 helmet. Now, the ATR-3 is going to be the new flagship dirt helmet within 6D's line, replacing the ATR-2 that we saw in spring of 2018. And I gotta say, I'm honestly impressed with what the designers over at 6D have done with this all-new lid. It took a lot of the complaints that I had, a few of the riders here, as well as other people that have used the ATR-2, and they fixed those in this latest iteration, and I really enjoy the direction that they're going in. Now, if you're not familiar with 6D, they've been playing around in the dirt market for quite a few years. They're one of the original companies out there that was tackling rotational protection. That's what their name actually stands for, is the 6 degrees or dimensions of protection for an impact. And their ODS system, or their Omni-Directional Suspension system, was an early developer in the rotational game to give a completely floating system within the helmet to protect from high-speed impacts as well as low-speed impacts. And this is now the 5th generation of that ODS technology that we've seen from 6D over the years. And one of the original complaints, and one of the biggest things, was with all that rotational impact detection system inside there, it was actually 2 EPS liners with rubber mounts in between so that they could slide and absorb impacts as well as move around a little bit. It just made the helmet bulky, and what they've done is they fixed that, making it a lighter helmet, adding carbon fiber into the main construction to help reduce weight as well as reduce the overall size. 6D helmets were notoriously some of the biggest helmets out there on the market. You could always tell when a rider was wearing them. So I love that they've slimmed it down and taken it to what we'd consider a more normal overall dirt shell shape. So I really like what 6D is doing there. I know I'm going to say that a lot because I really do dig this helmet, and I think this might be the best iteration we've seen from 6D. But let's hit some of the facts before I get too long-winded and we can walk through the entire helmet. This is actually the one I've been riding in, that I've been sampling around, ripping around the track, and I really do like the technology in here. So I'm going to be saying that a lot, but let's hit some of the features here. This is going to be $760, only about $10 increase over the predecessor on this one. It's still 3 shell sizes. You have extra small to small, medium and large share a shell size, and extra large all the way up to 2 extra large are going to be that 3rd and final shell size. Full 3K carbon shell, which I think looks fantastic when you look at it all around. That replaces the original Composite Shell that they used before, but I like that they've gone with a full carbon fiber main construction. I think it has a great look to it. Obviously, with graphics coming out, it's probably going to cover up a lot of that, but I do dig what they've done here in this matte color, even with the plastic, more darker black that you have on the peak. I think it goes really well with the rest of the helmet. DOT ECE 2206 certified. It's also technically going to be an FIM certified helmet. That's going to be something the FIM is going to be rolling out to MXGP and a lot of other off-road racing organizations about 2025, 2026. So you don't have the sticker on it because that would increase the cost. So 6D has approved the testing, but it doesn't come with that sticker on there. I wish it did, although it would have increased the price, probably $40, $50 at that point to get that certification. But I like knowing that the helmet is certified to it. Intermediate oval in its fit. It's going to be a little bit longer front to back than it is side to side, and this one's a little tight around the cheek area, so it's going to be squeezing in. That's going to break in over time as these cheek pads start to relax, but just keep it in mind. And it is true to size. I'm a medium in every helmet that I wear. The medium here fits me just fine, and it has 10 intake vents as well as 5 exhaust vents, which I will show you as we work our way through the helmet. One thing I want to point out is the jawline. I like that they've trimmed it down and really reduced the overall size. It was pretty bulky before, and again, the name of the game on this model was trimming down, really trying to get the overall profile of the helmet down and slimmer, and I think they did a great job with it here at the chin bar. They updated all the ventilation coming in at the front. It's all metal mesh that goes straight through into the face of the rider. What I will say is right behind the center one is going to be a debris guard, a little piece of foam that you can take out and clean and put back in there, but it'll help keep dust and larger debris that can get through the metal mesh from going into your mouth. At the base of the jawline and then inside the entire jaw area is going to be some EPP, expanded polypropylene. I like that in case you're slamming your head down into your roost guard, your handlebars, or even if you're just having a couple light impacts into the interior. It's not going to fold as much as EPS will, but it's going to be something that can absorb a lot of impacts. I like that they've added that in there with nice cutouts for the shoulder blades to help reduce collarbone injuries at the side. Really streamlined though when you look at the side of the helmet, just the overall lines, you can tell that it kind of pops back in and out where they need to, just redesigning the shell to reduce that overall weight. They did get rid of the goggle strap grip patterns on there, which I'm okay with on the side of the eye port. I'm okay with that though, because most goggles out there will have silicone underneath of it so that it will grip on its own, but it's a nice flat surface all the way around to the rear where that strap's going to be holding on. Looking at the rear, you can see all those 5 exhaust vents. Same thing, metal mesh over top of it, and really just a nice, clean, streamlined back of the helmet. If we take a look up at the top, one thing I want to call out is the peak does have 3 screws, one adjustable at the center, so you can lift it up and down. Included in the box for this one is going to be a extender. It's a little mud guard extender that you can go ahead and add on if it's a rainy day, or if it's a mud day, you can go ahead and toss that up front for a little bit more protection. But it's going to be 3 screws to go ahead and remove it. It does come with a little key to go ahead and remove it. It fits into the hexagon pattern in there. I will say though, with that slit across, a large flathead screwdriver or a coin will work just as well. So I like that 6D's included it, although with being toolless, I think they could have done without it though. So let's go ahead and swing into the interior, because I think that's where the most prominent features of the 6D ATR-3 with the ODS system really is. And one thing, like I said, I wanted to point out is that rotational impact, the outer liner of the EPS and the inner liner, like I said, are sandwiched around 2 rubber mounts, but it does give freedom of movement. So you can actually see it'll have some wiggle room back and forth to help the head absorb those impacts upon crashing. And the cool part is, with the ODS system in its 5th generation, they've slimmed down the interior, and it's also something that you can have rebuilt by 6D. So if you have a light crash, you can send it in them, or if you have a large crash, you can send it in. About $130. They'll evaluate it, they'll go through it, and they'll replace the interior parts. That's the nice part about this system, is they can rebuild it since it's broken into multiple sectors and not just one single layer of EPS. They can go ahead and replace it. Again, about $130 plus shipping, and 6D does that directly. But I think it's really cool technology to help absorb lower speed impacts as well as high speed impacts. Lower speed is going to be absorbed by that rotational impact protection, and then the higher speed is when both EPSs will actually come together to absorb the forces of the impact. So I really dig that. Emergency release cheek pads on each side, as well as hydration tube pass-throughs. If you're running a hands-free system like I do, you can go ahead and loop that underneath there and up to your mouth. I'll go ahead and remove these cheek pads in here. You can see they got a pretty nice contour. They're pretty basic. I will say on the back end, it's a little bit of TPU for reinforcement. Again, emergency release system. If you need to slide them out if a rider's down at the track, you can go ahead and pop these out. But I do like it. It's a Drylex liner that they're using inside of here, which is going to be great for moisture wicking. It's going to keep them nice and dry, especially if you're washing them at the track in between, I wouldn't say in between motos, but if you have multiple day riding weekend, they're going to go ahead and dry out and be ready for the next one. Taking a look at in here, I'll remove the top liner as well. It's 2 snaps in the rear and then 2 snaps in the front. Again, nice formed. It's got a lot of ventilation all the way throughout, and I think that's what's going to help benefit the airflow in this. Airflow is one of the things I saw a dramatic increase from the last version. I love how much the air is flowing through, and I think it's really tasteful how they did that. And one of the things I wanted to point out is you can see little bits of foam inside between the EPS liners to help keep debris out. It's something you'd have to know as a designer by going out to the track and experiencing it, but just that little piece of foam inside there helps keep a lot of the bigger debris and chunks out of the helmet. If you're taking it, on muddier days or dirt days or even dust days, it's going to help keep the helmet nice and clean on the interior. Speaker pockets on the side as well. I do like that. They're a little bit on the smaller side for those larger speakers out there like JBLs or Harman Kardons we see from Cena and Cardo. Those are going to be like about 45 millimeters in width, so I do wish these were a little bit bigger, but I like that they're adding them in there. It's something that most dirt companies are doing nowadays. You can really see though just the channels inside the EPS in there to help flow all that air on that EPS liner. And again, behind that EPS liner is going to be the rubber bushings as well as a secondary EPS liner as well to help absorb those impacts. But I really do dig the channels in there, and then you also have the capability to add an eject system if you wanted to. Eject is an air bladder to help remove helmets off of downed riders' heads. Pretty popular in California at the MX tracks. Not something we see in too many other places where it's more temporary help when it comes to EMS, but I like that they added it in there in case you are racing. Most race series know to check for these things as riders go down. But really just a solid interior, and I'm going to try to position it for my camera guy and see. This is the EPP that I mentioned that's at the base of the chin bar. Really just wraps all the way down and around and covers the entire interior of the chin. One last note before we wrap up this video that I think just shows off the great design prowess that 6D has and those riders that are designing their gear. They do have a magnetic clamp for the double D-ring, which is something that I love. It's still a traditional double D-ring, so you have to do it up like that, but I do love that little magnet. It's one of my favorite features on all helmets that I have out there. And also down here, you just have little grip patterns on the base of the helmet. It's a really small design, but when you're at the track, if you're putting your helmet on your bike, if you're putting it on something that's a little bit slippery of a surface, we've all been there where it just rolls rolls off and drops to the ground. I like that they're adding that in there just to have a little bit of grip, a little tacky feel on there when you're putting the helmet away for the day. But all in, I think I've said it about 100 times in this video, you could probably turn it into a drinking game, but I love what 6D has done with this ATR-3. I think they took a lot of the complaints customers and riders had with the last version, being overly big, especially in the shell size, as well as being overly heavy, and they trimmed that down. You're coming in about 2 pounds, 14 ounces in a size medium, and all that is coming from the technology that they're building into it, the 5th generation ODS, as well as the slimming profile that they've gone across with the entire shell. But if you have any other questions about the 6D ATR-3, you can go ahead and click that info button. That's going to take you over to the product page where you can read other rider reviews and see what other riders are saying about the new helmet. If you still have questions after that, or if you have questions on sizing, feel free to give our customer service agents a call. They're all riders, happy to help you get set up for your next ride. I want to thank you for joining me and checking out the all-new 6D ATR-3 helmet. I'm Pat, and I'll see you in the next video.